Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, a new tiki mug is coming Friday, some unique meet and greets for Disneyland After Dark, a loaded donut for Father's Day.
Rogers the Musical is almost here. A lot of work happening around the resort. We finish our chat with Rick and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people listening. Welcome to DL Weekly's Enchanted Podcast. Hey, Tag and Teresa, mi amigos. Pay attention, it's showtime.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of June 14th, 2023. The almost last one for me for the summer.
Almost. It is the last one.
Well, but August, I'll be back in August. That's still summer.
So for those of you, I don't know if you've officially talked about this on the podcast yet.
Oh, so, yeah, in case I haven't... Well, first of all, I'm Tig Bushman. But I would just like to say that from June 19th through August 7th, I will be traveling around Europe with James. So Teresa is manning the podcast all by her lonesome. Well, not all by her lonesome, but like... You know, her and Vern are the only two regulars of the show who will be on for the next 7 weeks.
So I apologize in advance.
No, it's going to be great. But yeah, so we've hosted exchange students for a couple years. So we're going to fly over to Turkey where my brother lives. And then we're going to go to Poland and the UK and check out the Harry Potter stuff there. We're going to go to Paris and we're going to see Disneyland Paris, of course. Then we're going to go to Germany, Italy, Moldova, and then back to Turkey for the last week. And then we'll come home. And then to add to that, we're getting a new exchange student about 4 or 5 days after that, I want to say. And then on August 17th, I'm leaving again, poor Teresa, to go to California. And producer James and myself and our new exchange student are going to do 3 days in the parks. And then we're going to go on a 4-day cruise. And we'll be back on the 25th of August. So it's a, teacher summer of getting off.
And then September, you're just going to sleep.
Maybe. But I got a podcast to do in September, and I got classes to teach. And then... Tentatively, if we're just talking about plans, we have a trip we're trying to do in October.
We have a September trip.
Oh, September.
To Marceline.
Yes.
We also have a tentative trip out for the Disneyana event in October. And then we even have a very lightly penciled in potential trip for December, which is like super wild.
That seems logistically weird.
Super wild.
Yeah.
That we have that many things in the air.
Yeah. But, we'll Teresa, are you going to tell folks who's going to be on the podcast with you?
Oh, yes. So, starting next week, our good friend Lynn from the Sweep Spot is going to be guest hosting and being my sidekick while Tag is off adventuring through Europe.
We'll see if Teresa even wants me back at the end.
Oh, I'm sure you'll be welcome back. Don't worry. We might be confused for the first couple of weeks without you around, but yes. I'm looking forward to it. Lynn's really excited. So Lynn he's an avid listener of DL Weekly and has been a big supporter of us for quite a while. So he's really excited to come on and be on this side of the microphone for DL Weekly. I'm really excited to pick his brain about all of his Disney knowledge. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, he worked in the park. If you haven't listened to the Sweep Spot podcast before, that's Sweep like sweeper because he was a custodial cast member. Him and his co-host, Ken, were both sweepers there together. So if you haven't listened to their podcast, they have quite a few great interviews that they've had over the course of their podcasting careers, which started way earlier than we started this podcast. So, but they were only doing every other week there for a while, so we're catching up on numbers. But yeah, so that'll be really great. So anyway, who are you? In our script, we always do this, and I derailed us right at the beginning.
That's okay. Well, thank you to Steph E., Breck Z., Brooke P., Kristen J., Elisa B., Laura W., and Lauren S., all for becoming official weekly tiers on our Patreon. Our supporters get some pretty fun perks like DL Weekly swag, some bonus content, plus access to our Discord community. We have a really fun and exciting thing going on right now. We are giving away one ticket to the Oogie Boogie Bash. The winner will be announced next Wednesday, June 21st, and one lucky official weekly tier, so a supporter on our Patreon, will win this ticket. If you have been on the fence on if you want to become a supporter through Patreon, now is a perfect time to do so. Again, the drawing will take place next Wednesday, the 21st, so if you sign up on Patreon before then, you will be included in the drawing. All weekly tiers that are current active supporters will be included, so no need to sign up. I'm really looking forward to see who the winner is. value is going to be a $144 ticket. So very, very excited. Because as you know, Oogie Boogie Bash
Just
is
make sure
such a fun time.
After next Wednesday, make sure that you look out for who the winner is, because
Yes.
Teresa's not going to wait long. If you don't contact us or respond to our message within a day or two, we'll go and pick somebody else. So be on the lookout.
Be on the lookout. Make sure you are checking your Patreon messages, all that good stuff. I will do my best to get connected with the winner ASAP so that we can make sure you get your goodies.
And how do they become a
prize.
supporter?
So if you would like some more Disney magic in your day and a chance to win an Oogie Boogie Bash ticket, head on over to dlweekly.net/support to join.
Well, you've heard us talk about our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson Anaheim. Well, we have partnered with them to offer our listeners some cool discounts, and right now there is an incredible discount of up to 25% off when you use our affiliate link, which you can do by just going to dlweekly.net, and it's linked right there. And there's also a promo code that'll be on the website that you need to enter as well. And it's a limited time offer, so the sooner you book, the better. If you are listening to this in the far future, you can at least get 15% off your stay, and Magic Key holders get 20% off your stay. So to take advantage of the discounts, again, head on over to dlweekly.net, click on the Howard Johnson logo, and be sure to use the promo codes on the website to get the discount that you qualify for.
Now let's get to the news.
Well, this Friday, June 16th, Trader Sam's at the Disneyland Hotel will offer for one day only a new tiki mug. This mug is in celebration of the 60th anniversary of Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room and features a tiki version of Jose. Guests can purchase it through mobile order in the Disneyland app beginning as early as 6 a.m. Disneyland time on Friday. Once again, that's Friday, the 16th of June. Once ordered, it can be picked up in your arrival window, which will be given to you between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. There are a limit of 2 per order.
I'm telling you, not that I need another thing to collect, but every time they come out with these tiki mugs, I just get so excited because they're so cool, and Jose is no exception. It's so cool. So he is dipped, he's like with a white glaze, with like a bright blue as like the accents. This is awesome. Super great. Love it.
Yeah, I have no idea how much it is. I didn't see anywhere that they had a price. I thought I saw like one of these previous ones had been around $30 or $50, something like that.
I was thinking, like $60 for some reason.
Yeah. Check mobile order on Friday, but you do have to pick it up that day. So, even if they didn't say it was going to be one day only, most of the time that these tiki things go on sale, they are sold out by that day. So if you happen to be in the Disneyland area this Friday and this Friday only, and you love tiki stuff, I'd go over and get one of these because it does look really cool.
It does. Or if you're just a fan of the tiki room. Very cool. Well, Disney After Dark Pride Night is happening this week. In fact, it is happening tonight as we record this on the 13th. Well, there are some characters that are pretty rare that'll be out and about this evening and the other Pride night. 2 characters that identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community, America Chavez from Doctor Strange and Phastos from Eternals, will be on hand, along with Oaken from Frozen and C-3PO from Star Wars, who are 2 characters who aren't common in the parks as meet and greets. C-3PO was just out for Star Wars night. This may be the first time I've heard of Oaken doing a meet and greet at Disney. How fun! Woohoo!
Yes. It's so funny because in this article from DL News today, they said Oaken is popularly considered by fans to be gay because as an adult man was seen amongst his family, although an adult woman was there too. So just kind of interesting.
Love it.
But there's
I love it.
so many characters that are going to be there.
Jane Porter and Turk from Tarzan are both going to be there. When was the last time either of them were in the parks?
Not
recently.
No.
Tiana and Louis. Princess Tiana and Louis are both going to be there. Princess Tiana, of course, is in the parks daily, I think. But Louis, I don't know if he's ever been in the parks yet either. I'm just excited.
Tinkerbell and Friends, that makes me think it's going to be some other fairies, because that was kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
The Muses from Hercules, I'm very excited for that.
I know. I just... Super fun. Oh, Mulan and Mushu is another fun meet and greet, because I don't feel like we see much of we do see Mulan and Mushu in the early part of the year for the Lunar New Year celebration. So they're pretty rare too, but just I'm excited. I am going to be ridiculous and live vicariously through my friends on Instagram that are there sharing stories of this event. It looks super fun.
Yeah. Well, some of the entertainment is going to be welcome fireworks at 9:30. There's going to be a welcome pride cavalcade at 9:55 and 11:30. There's a fond farewell with Mickey Mouse and friends. So that's going to be, I assume, at the front of the park at 12:45. So a little bit before the end of the night. Of course, there's dancing at the Golden Horseshoe and the Rivers of America and the Tomorrowland Terrace. Of course, there's all the characters we talk about. There's all these photo ops. There's Pride Night food.
Not too many food items. There's a chocolate almond churro, though, in New Orleans Square at the churro cart. Also in Critter Country at the churro and lemonade cart. The sour cherry churro. You can find that over at the Castle churro cart, Frontierland churro cart, and the Tomorrowland churro cart. Plus cereal and milk pretzel over at the Tomorrowland pretzel cart.
Yeah.
The cereal and milk pretzel, it looks like Fruity Pebbles on top.
Yeah. They're really into that right now because there was a beignet that had that stuff too.
They're fun, and they're colorful, and they're sweet, and they're crunchy.
I really want to see video. Maybe there'll be some up tomorrow of the welcome fireworks because I'm curious like how colorful they'll be because Pride is like rainbows and stuff. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look. So it should be pretty exciting. Hopefully, if there's any Weekly Cheers who are going, drop us a line. Let us know how it was. Other than you following stuff on
me
social media.
Living vicariously through those that are there, yes.
Well, Father's Day is just around the corner, and what a way to celebrate than with a loaded donut at Disneyland. The Father's Day donut at the Jolly Holiday Bakery is topped with maple, chocolate, peanut butter icing, candied bacon, house-fried potato chips, pretzels, and Snickers pieces. Yes, that is 7 toppings. It is a salty, sweet snack that is sure to please. It is available for a limited time for $6.99. This looks so good to me.
They weren't messing around when they were calling this this is loaded. Like, I don't even understand how there's that many things. Like, even looking at the picture, though, it doesn't look as overwhelming as the description and listing all those things. I'm curious about this. I like sweet and salty and sweet and, like, I like the combination sweet and salty and sweet and savory. So I feel like this would be a good thing for me to try. Plus, you have like the softness of the donut with the crunch of the fresh chips. I'm really curious about
your description is not making it any easier for me to not be able to have this. Thank you very much. It looks good though. Like I don't know if I've had a donut in my memory at Disneyland, but I would get this one. I don't know. It looks good.
Yes.
Did we?
We did. And
when?
In Toontown. We have the little mini donuts from Toontown.
Oh, mini donuts,
Cafe.
but not like donut.
No,
this is like a full-size donut.
I've not had a full-size donut from Disneyland either. But
I would have this.
It looks interesting. Last week we talked about the testing of the new Baby Groot character that should be coming to the Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Dance-Off. Well, later last week, Disney confirmed that the testing was happening in the Disney Junior Theater. So at this point, he could debut anytime now. How exciting.
Mice Chat said that in the Disneyland app, it looked like that the show was supposed to be there, but then it disappeared. Like it was supposed to happen on Saturday, but then it disappeared shortly after the first showing or something. They were canceled. So I don't know if that means that they were planning on putting Groot out there, but your favorite person of Mantis is still out doing the dance-off, at least for now. So she's so adorable.
I love her so much. I think she's so perfect. If I were ruler of the universe, I would have all 3 of them out there. I would have Star-Lord, Mantis, and Groot all doing the dance-off out there together. I think that would be incredible.
Did you watch any of this video?
I have, yeah.
What did you think?
That's why I think we need all 3. Like, I think Groot is awesome on his own, but he's a little guy, right? So, and the Awesome Dance-Off being ground level and everybody I think if you're not in one of the front rows, it's not going to be very easy to see him versus like Mantis, who's taller, you can see her from further back. So I think it would be a really fun combo to have both of them there. Groot looks so adorable. He's got all sorts of fun moves.
Yeah.
He's so fun.
I was watching the video because Disney actually put out an official video of their testing and stuff there. Now, there is, if I'm going to take some magic away for a moment, so I think it's amazing, first of all, because this Groot moves like an actual being, right? Like really smooth, kind of like how we all are in awe of the animatronic of the shaman out in Pandora in Disney World, that it just looks amazing. This is that, and
Plus
on a smaller
walks.
scale. Plus he walks. The only thing was, I was curious because as somebody who does stuff with technology, I think like battery life, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, can he come out and do this show? The show's not a long show. The show's, what, 10 minutes less? You could power this on a battery in that size frame. So I was like, okay, pretty cool. Did they do that? So I'm looking at this video, and they were sort of clever. But if you look at the video, there is unfortunately a very small wire that is leading from the back of him back off the stage. Now, I am sure that Disney is very close to being able to get rid of that, because I can't imagine that much is coming through that. But good golly, it'd be amazing.
Do you think that's a power cord or like a safety?
It might be safety, but I don't know. I feel like it's probably maybe for somebody to control it. Maybe it's not as reliable with something like a remote control, or maybe it's something where it's hooked up to a bigger computer that's more powerful that's pre-programmed some of his moves. I don't know. I saw him walking around though, and I thought it was cool. The fact that we have something that can walk around like a person, even if it's tethered or not, spectacular.
It's wild.
So I'm excited to see him out in the park.
Me too, but like I said, the one thing is he's a little guy, right? So
Sure.
I feel like it makes sense to have him on a stage. Like they have these previews in the Disney Junior stage area. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm nervous about watching him perform on the street.
Sure.
Just because I think it'd be, if you're not in those first two rows, you might not have that good of a view. And let's face it, he's going to be very popular for quite a while because he's so stinking adorable.
If you took away that cable, I would think that this was a person in a costume. It looks that good. By the way, I also like the fact that apparently they have like the one Star-Lord right now, because it's...
I know.
I'm like, hey, we know him.
Yeah, we see him all over the place. We
Yeah.
watched him perform all sorts of times. But yeah, very fun.
Well, I've got some great news for you, Teresa. We're just a few weeks away from Rogers the Musical debuting at the Hyperion Theater in Disney California Adventure. The limited time engagement is scheduled to start on June 30th with the possibility of a virtual queue reservation needed to snag a seat. The show is reported to be about 30 minutes long when it does actually debut.
Okay, not to be a Debbie Downer, but really, I'm surprised that they're thinking they may need a possible virtual queue to make sure you snag... 'cause this is a large theater.
Yep.
You never had to worry about getting a seat for things that we knew were going to be popular, like Frozen, because it was Frozen everything when Frozen first debuted at the Hyperion. And then Aladdin was just amazing and so fun and an easily repeatable thing to do. I know that we didn't have the technology, but you didn't have to make reservations for those. So I'm just kind of surprised that they're putting out there that we might need to have virtual queues because they're expecting that high of a demand. I personally am not expecting that high of a demand just because it's a very large capacity venue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's interesting that they're doing a virtual queue. They do have that large section on the side that they were doing some of that. I'm almost wondering if they want to keep that section for seating and stuff, and they don't want people queuing up there, or they're just trying to make what they consider a better guest experience by not having people wait there. Because I remember for Aladdin, sometimes having to wait out there for 20, 30 minutes, and if you could just come up with your virtual queue, maybe that's a little bit better of an experience. I don't know. I know that producer James, when we were talking about our trip at the end of August, this is probably still going to be playing then.
Yeah.
He is very excited to watch Rogers the Musical. So he counters your kind of lack of enthusiasm for understanding this.
I don't see it having a very long... I don't know.
I could agree with that.
A long staying power.
I don't think that it's something that's going to be repeatable for a long time. I do think that I'm hoping that they use this opportunity to be planning the next show that's going to go in there, because I feel like now that you've reopened the theater, you should have something in there consistently now. So when Rogers ends, I assume, let's say at the end of the summer, I assume that what they'll do is they'll work out another show that'll maybe premiere, next spring or something, because I feel like during the holiday, well, I mean, they might put something in there during the holidays, but there's enough other stuff going on during the holidays. Hopefully something, maybe a Coco show, maybe an Encanto show. It seems like those are very popular right now still. And I think that the music and everything would be, you've said this 100 times, I think that would be their best choice, and I think they should do that long term.
I'd love it. I would love to see it. I am trying to be optimistic. I won't probably be able to go out there to see it in person, but I'm sure somebody will share a video online. So I plan to watch it that way at the very least, because I don't, like you said, I feel like this is going to be a summer thing. I don't know if it'll still be going if we're out there in October or not. Maybe it will.
I'll tell you what, though, Disney California Adventure needs anything it can to suck up people.
Yes.
So I think it's gonna at least do that for the summer.
That's true. Well, speaking of, summer has barely begun, and Disney is already preparing for the holiday season at the resort. Mickey and Minnie will have new festive outfits this year, making sure they are dressed in their best. Of course, there will also be lots of goodies as well. Something fun happening right now is to celebrate that we're halfway to the holiday time, is you can get some favorite festive treats at the parks right now. The Mickey gingerbread cookies are available at, I believe it's Pacific Wharf. And over at the Cozy Cone Motel in Carsland, you can get an eggnog slush with rum chata topped with whipped cream and sprinkles also to celebrate halfway to the holiday season.
So you know what's funny about this is I'm looking at their post, we have it linked in the show notes, that says that you can buy these things today, which when this was posted was the 13th, which is the day we're recording this, through June 15th. So for 2 days, or 3 days, technically, you can buy these things. I'm like, really? Just for that many days?
I was looking online before we started recording, and before we started recording this episode, so we started recording this episode 5 p.m. Disneyland time, they were already sold out of Mickey gingerbread cookies for the day.
My goodness.
Isn't that wild?
They also have the macarons that look pretty good.
Cakes has their little gingerbread macarons, too.
Eggnog slush with rum chata. Well, what do you think of their outfits?
They're very dapper. They're not, how do I want to say this? They're not as kind of like...
Flashy?
I don't know if it's flashy. They're not what I would have expected for Mickey and Minnie, if that makes sense. Because we've had like kind of more matchy-match, whereas this isn't. This is outfits I could see anybody really wearing. So Mickey's got this, I don't know if they're like a teal colored pant, but that's kind of like greenish colored
corduroy
pant. Greenish looking corduroy pants. So very reminiscent of like a holiday tree color pants. A plaid sweater. It almost looks like it might be a sweater vest.
Yep.
And then a coat that kind of reminds me of like maybe like a Santa Claus coat, because it's a red coat with white trim, and then a Santa hat as well. And it almost looks like the coat and the hat might be like a velvet. And then Minnie's got this sassy little skirt, which is red with some white sections. She's got red heels on, a high-waisted belt that's also the same green as Mickey's pants, and then she's got a very cute side bow, and it's made out of like sweater material.
I think it looks cool.
I think it's cute. It's just, it wasn't what I expected.
I'm continuously surprised that they keep changing this up, because you would think like, oh, Halloween time, Mickey and Minnie are just going to have the same Halloween outfit. It's holiday time. Here's Mickey and Minnie in the holiday outfits that they've constantly had.
I feel like before, did they maybe only change these up every few, like I feel like they had the same outfit for at least a couple of years before they'd switch outfits. So it's wild to me that they're doing it per season. And the thing that's even more crazy when you think of it, they always tease Mickey and Minnie's new outfits, but Pluto, Donald, Daisy, and Goofy usually all are getting new outfits too. Chippendale, yep. There's multiple characters are getting new outfits as well.
We need to talk to somebody in costuming, because I have so many questions about these things. But anyway, Well, a new food item is taking the parks by storm. The BBQ Hot Link Sandwich at Award Weiners in Disney California Adventure is all over the internet as being very tasty. The sandwich includes a hot link, mac and cheese, barbecued pulled pork, and creamy coleslaw topped with crispy onions and barbecue sauce, all on top of a French roll. It comes with a side of Cuties mandarin oranges or filmstrip fries. The meal is priced at $15.49 and is a good portion size. However, it is messy to eat. Oh,
This looks amazing. I know we were going on and on and on about that crazy donut from earlier, with the sweet and savory. But
it's a good food week.
100%. I would probably have to share this with someone because it does look very large. But oh my good. I mean, the pulled pork is piled so high on this, you can barely see the hot link underneath it.
And it's got
And the crispy onions
as well.
And the creamy coleslaw. Yum. I have a confession to make. I don't know if this will... I don't even know if you know this necessarily.
Uh-oh.
I have never... I don't know if I've ever ordered anything from Award Weiners.
Really?
Like, as far as like savory stuff. There was a drink that we ordered there once.
Mm-hmm.
Some specialty drink that I ordered there once. I don't think I've ever ordered anything savory.
The problem
food-wise from Award Weiners, and I've never had the film strip fries, and I hear such good things about I need to try them.
I used to, when DCA first opened, it's one of the few places that's still like opening day place,
yeah.
and it's always been Award Weiners. When the park first opened, it was another place to get just a normal hot dog in the park.
Yeah.
They don't really offer normal hot dogs. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't have like the normal bun. They have that kind of like bread cut in half bun, which I think is just weird. That was the last time I had
for Award
Wieners. Yeah. Because the last time I bought a chili dog from there because I love their chili dogs, but they don't have a regular hot dog bun, so I kind of miss that.
It's like Texas toast or something.
It is. And so I'm not the biggest fan of that. But this also reminded me, you probably remember, did I ever talk about the Chili Mac bowl thing from Coke Corner that everybody was talking about when our last trip? I don't think I did. I ordered that, and it was so dang good. It was Walt's chili, I think, with mac and cheese in a bread bowl.
That's right.
And it was so good.
I think you may have talked about it, but you go right on ahead and talk about
That's
it.
all. It was just so good. I don't have to say anything else about it.
As soon as you're saying that, I'm like, wait, now this is sounding familiar.
Well, because I think I got it on the last night, and I think you had gone back to the hotel or something, or we had gotten food separately or something.
Yeah, we got food separately.
Yeah, because I loved it. It was so good. Mm-hmm. The reason it made me think of it was there's mac and cheese on this too. So normally I think I would steer away from things with mac and cheese on them because I think it's a little weird. But after the chili mac and cheese thing, I'm kind of open to it.
I would suggest if this is something you're interested in trying, I would grab a fork and a knife.
Yes,
I mean,
I would probably do that anyway, but yes.
Because it looks delicious, but yes, like it could be very messy.
I'm excited. If anybody tries it, let us know. Maybe this will be... I mean, it doesn't even have to be like the chili. You know what's funny? Ever since Vern talked about that churro, I feel like I see it everywhere.
I know. It is the most like wild, what the heck was that? And why is this? This should not be as good as it is.
Yeah.
It just messes with you. It's like, what? Yeah. You think you have that chili cheese churro all figured out until suddenly you're questioning why you think it's good, because it shouldn't be. Well, something new is coming to downtown Disney between Splitsville and Tortilla Joe's. Quote unquote, The Alley will be an outdoor area featuring activities, lounge areas, and food and beverages from Splitsville. Disney's announcement states that this will open this summer. What a great use of space.
It is a good use of space. So for those of you who, I mean, there's a link in the show notes with some photos of the area as it stands now. But in case you're sort of familiar with it, this is the area where they've had like the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Kind of in that back. You know, honestly, I don't think I've ever been back there.
There's been some like photo op stuff that's back there too.
I don't think I've been back there though. It is kind of a little weird space that I think would be great for this type of an outdoor thing. Now, apparently, again, according to Mice Chat, who's reporting on this, they say that Splitsville's not, like, of all of the places in downtown Disney, Splitsville is one of the least busy eateries, I guess, which I can see why. I've looked at their menu. They have very high prices for what they offer. They have sushi and stuff, but it's very expensive.
I didn't know
They also
that.
have bowling, of course. I think you knew that. But maybe they'll have something cool in the middle. tangentially related, I looked at the menu for the Jazz Kitchen, and that amazing pasta thing I got is not there anymore.
It's not there anymore. No, the thing that we enjoyed so much the last couple of times we were there is no longer on the menu. However, they did get a refresh menu, and the reviews that I've seen thus far, which were from Fresh Baked and from Ordinary Adventures, were they all really enjoyed the stuff there. So
that's good to know.
Yes, the decor at the new Jazz Kitchen is a little but at least the menu and the food sounds like it's very good.
That's good to hear. Mm-hmm. I'll have to go watch some of those videos because I was sad because I was looking at it. I was like, oh, I wonder if they still have that. And I was like, I can't find it.
It was so...
It was like a fettuccine Alfredo, but it had like... You could get different things in it. And it was big.
Huge. Mm-hmm. I remember that. Mm-hmm. Yep. It was very, very large, very delicious.
Well, since the closure in 2020, there's only been one red car trolley on the tracks along Buena Vista Street. The second trolley has returned to the track, adding more capacity, kinetic energy, and fun to the area. I didn't even know that.
That's lovely. And the thing that I really enjoy about this is the last couple of times that we've been there and have ridden the trolley, we've actually been booted off the trolley early because they had to go pick up some VIP riders, a.k.a. Mickey and Minnie, and they kind of go up and down the street with the characters in the trolley cars, which I think is very fun and very magical. But now that they've got two cars, they don't have to disrupt guest experience and guest rides, I guess, up and down the street in the trolley.
I'm still waiting really cool. for the Newsboys show to come back, because that would be great. I know that doesn't matter for this, but speaking of the red car trolley, that was a great show, by the way. Suitcase and a Dream, come on, that's like
now
instant.
It's stuck in my head.
Sorry. Just me saying it?
Yes. Suitcase and a dream.
It's so catchy.
It is very catchy. Well, there's a lot going on in Fantasyland at the moment. All three attractions that share the eastern side of the castle are currently closed to guests. Peter Pan, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and Alice in Wonderland are all unavailable while work is being done on the roof. The attractions are expected to reopen soon.
Yeah, so what's interesting about this is Alice is actually reopening
and then
closing again to go down for another little stint. So they're working on something with all this. But while this roof work is happening, I'm wondering if they're also doing touch-ups of the facade, because they do have the scrims, the painted scrims up in front. So hopefully.
They could be. So, Fantasyland's a little lopsided right
Red
now.
Rose Tavern also has... It's still open, but it also has the painted scrims. We should
maybe call it Construction Land for the time being.
Construction Land?
Yes.
Well, another area is being worked on in Mickey's Toontown. The grass area across from Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, where we recorded one of our sections of our Live from the Park episode, is behind walls and getting some work done. It's expected that this is the same work that was recently completed around the Dreaming Tree to level the ground under the artificial grass, especially around the trees.
Yeah, so I'd seen lots of different thought processes online, of course, but one that actually stuck out to me that made a lot of sense is right as this new land was opening, California was getting tons and tons of rain.
Yep.
So I think all of that rain left its mark, we'll say, and kind of made these areas erode faster under the faux grass than what was probably originally planned. So this is just some maintenance work. A lot of people were kind of like, oh, Toontown just reopened. Did they reopen too soon? Like maybe they should have not, pushed the opening date back and all that. I don't think it's anything like that. I think this is unforeseen stuff that they're just dealing with now before it becomes a bigger issue.
I'm just glad that they're so quick to try to maintain it and not just letting it be blocked off by benches or, have some barriers up or something, because they could do that too. But I think it's much better that they're trying to get it right.
Yes. And it wasn't that long that the Dreaming Tree was behind construction walls for them to get that area leveled back out. So I don't expect this to be a very long project either. Well, last week, magic key holders had quite a wait to get inside the parks. The system that processes the magic key holder admission was down. Front gate cast members were eventually able to manually enter reservation codes into the system to allow guests in, however, very slowly. The system was down for a couple of hours before coming back up later in the morning. You know what they needed? Cards. We need our magic key cards back. We need annual pass cards back. I bet you that would have perhaps been a little
Can you
helpful.
imagine entering reservation codes into the system Oh my goodness.
I feel bad enough when you go to a restaurant and you're using your Magic Key discount and they have to write your entire Magic Key number down to then go type in the computer to give you the 10% discount or whatever. I feel so terrible for that. So that was the first thing, like with this, that all I could think of is those poor cast members having to manually enter in these, mind you, not short by any stretch of the imagination, numbers, because these numbers are crazy long, and then it's loud, and I'm sure people are stressed, and people aren't being the most friendly versions of themselves because they're not understanding why they can't get into the park and why there's a holdup. I don't know if physical cards would have made any sort of difference with this. I just like to have the excuse to have them come back because I miss my physical card, because that's just me.
Disney World still has physical cards.
They do. Don't bring it up.
Yeah, I'm sad by it too, because it's nice to have that kind of history, because the last few years when we've had Magic Keys, we don't have anything to put on a shelf or in a drawer that says like
carry around with us,
or carry around. Yeah,
I was a weirdo,
so
and I carried around my annual pass card always. For no reason. I was carrying it around during the pandemic when the parks weren't even open and I couldn't even use it. I was still carrying that thing around.
You just wanted to feel close to Disneyland.
I loved it. I just really loved it. It was like a piece of the park with me all the time. I really enjoyed it. But I don't know what's going on, but it feels like it wasn't that long ago that the systems at the turnstiles had gone down. That was a few weeks ago that the systems had just
They've been having
down.
some issues.
So there's some bugs that need to be worked out or something.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop star speeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Hello and welcome to Trivia Land. How are you two doing?
Well, we're nervous. We heard it's not very fun to be in Trivia Land.
Well, that just sounds like a terrible rumor. Trivia Land's always a wonderful place.
I don't know. I said, are we going to have a good, easy trivia night? And you said no. So
Well, the reason I say that is because I have 4 listener questions for you tonight, and they're all by the numbers.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
So every answer you give me is going to be somewhat number related.
Oh, yeah, we're in trouble.
I know how good you are at all of these. So let's just get started. So our first one comes from listener Chrissy A. And the question is, how many levels are there at the Mickey and Friends parking structure? And what are the names of each floor?
There's Mickey and Donald and Minnie and Goofy and Daisy. Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Daisy,
No
Chip and Dale.
Chippendale?
There's Chip and Dale.
I can honestly say I've never been to this parking structure. I've never been to either of the parking structures.
And you've never had the joy of riding the tram, then either, have you?
No,
I
she
have
rode
ridden
the
the
tram.
tram.
Oh, okay, good.
No, I just lied. I did go to a parking structure, but I think it was the Pixar Pals. Mm-hmm.
Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy,
So is it the Fab Six?
Daisy, Chip and Dale.
Well, not 6.
Did I say Donald? Mickey, Minnie,
Pluto?
Pluto. Is there 8 levels?
I have no idea.
I'm going to say 7 levels, but I'm going to give you 8 names.
But 8 names?
Well, Chip and Dale probably are their own level.
No, Chip and Dale's 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if I say Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, Chip and Dale,
No, Pluto.
Pluto.
That's 7. Who was the other name you were thinking about?
Maybe that's it.
That is 7 if that's
I
what
mean,
you're giving
Chip
me.
and Dale are 2 characters,
But that's
one
but they're
level.
but they're one
Yep.
level.
Yeah, so 7 level. I'm gonna jump on Tag's parking structure.
Yeah, because I feel like it's somewhere. Yeah, I don't think it's 8 levels. I think it's a massive structure. It was the largest parking structure in the world until they built one very much like it in Tokyo, if I remember correctly.
Very interesting. I didn't know that. Question 2. From Kevin M. According to the sign outside of Big Thunder Mountain, what is the population of Rainbow Ridge?
Oh no, it's
Isn't it like 30 something?
Oh.
I'm gonna say 38. That's just the first number that came to mind. I feel like Vern asked us a question similar to this previously.
Okay, you're saying 38.
38.
I'm saying 26.
26.
38 and 26. Not a lot of people in Rainbow Ridge.
Well, there used to be more, but like I think the sign has a bunch of crossed out numbers.
Ooh.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
Why? What are you oohing?
Do you think it's something like when the caverns first opened? Like, is it an Easter egg? I bet it's an Easter egg.
I don't think it's that high of a number, though.
I'm changing my number to. I'm just gonna say 57. I'm changing my number.
57?
Yep.
All right. God, moving on. Our third question comes from Whitney N. On how many attractions are you swallowed by a whale at
Ooh.
Disneyland?
How many what?
How many attractions are you swallowed by a whale? I think I might actually have this.
Well, because there's
Shockingly.
Storybook Land Canal Boat.
Storybook Land Canal Boats.
Do you get? Does
I don't know,
Pinocchio
yeah, does Peter-
attraction count?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
Peter
And Peter-
or not Peter Pan, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
Do you want to know what the third one is?
Wait. Where you get eaten by a whale?
Yep.
Swallowed
Swallowed.
by a whale.
Okay, hold on.
This one's good because it's I'll wait. I'll let you think.
I'm trying because I feel like I don't know. Let me think. A whale. You get swallowed by a whale. I keep thinking something like Soren, but you don't get swallowed by a whale. You get splashed by an orca.
Yeah.
All right, what is it?
Finding Nemo, the submarine voyage.
Oh, you do get swallowed by
Yeah.
a whale, don't you?
Yep.
Well, I will hitch my wagon to your submarine.
My sub. You'll put your parking structure with my submarine.
Yeah, something like that. They both sink.
Yeah,
All over the
submarine
place. Our last question from listener Ace. This is going to be a doozy.
Oh,
The
gee.
registers at the concession stand inside Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway are a nod to something. What?
It's Mickey's birthday.
Yeah, it was Mickey's birthday.
What's Mickey's birthday though? That 1928.
Isn't it like November or something? I want to say it's November something. Don't hurt yourself.
I'm trying to like picture them because I remember. Do you know what's even worse? I remember pointing them out and showing it to Vern in the queue. I'm like, look, it's Mickey's birthday.
Yep.
Oh, he didn't. You know what? I don't remember James telling us that we needed to know the year. We just had to say what they referenced.
That's true.
Mickey's birthday.
It's true. I did not ask for numbers related to this one, though I'd happily accept them if you want to really show off your knowledge.
That's okay. I think by not saying it, we are showing off our knowledge.
1928.
Yeah.
All right. If that's what you're guessing, maybe
Yep.
maybe the listeners at home agree or disagree, but we have to wait until after our discussion topic to find out the answers.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are finishing up our conversation with illustrator Rick Law. Enjoy.
I say I've had some great mentors and friends, so I kind of look at them and I just try to take what I've learned from them or watched them and seen and apply that. Again, it doesn't always make people happy at the company management.
Yeah.
But I look at this a little bit like, so Joe Grant, who worked from the very beginning as an artist on Snow White, he was there for many, many years. And towards the end of his career, I know some management, it would bother them. He had been brought back and he was doing storyboards and things. And he was like in his 90s still. And, a lot of people would tolerate or cater to him, but he would just go to executive desks and leave ideas and sketches and things on their table. Things they thought were cool, like he'd just leave it. And he would do things like that. And
I love it. I just thought you might want to see this.
and he would just and constantly, and even with Floyd, Floyd would go, when his younger years, especially, and what drove him to become a story man on Jungle Book is because Walt saw these things. He would go and kind of make these little jokes and mock what was going on in the studio and put them up like pre-Post-it notes, but these little notes around the studio. And Walt saw those and thought that those had value. Like he could see storytelling and the funny in them. And he said, all right. And so he's the one that said, okay, move Floyd to story. But again, he did that, and probably some other lesser management would have seen those things and been like, oh, those are annoying, like, oh, that's Floyd, that, whatever and stuff. And so Floyd got kind of the title of troublemaker. Roy Disney said that when Floyd got his Disney Legends Award. He said, he's been known as a troublemaker, but he caused the best kind of trouble. And with both Joe and Floyd and stuff, I've kind of tried to just kind of do the same, even with the transitions that have happened at the company and the things that I've seen happen there. It's just try to find value and plussing where you can, even if new management or new people don't understand that sometimes. They don't understand the history. They don't understand the legacy. They don't understand the value that has. It's still just trying to create that as much as possible. Just recently, though, I will tell you, at the studio, I made a suggestion that I sent up the food chain, and I CC'd another executive on it, and it got everybody's head in a spin. And what I was told was the way that I made the suggestion, it wasn't that I made the suggestion or whatever, but that the way it I guess it was presented, or it found its way to the executive, just is because some of these executives, they want to live in a bubble.
Sure, yeah.
But that's not the way true collaboration or creativity or the Disney company has ever operated its best on. Sometimes people ask me, to draw another parallel, sometimes people ask me, well, why didn't you go to this show? Or why haven't I seen you here? Or why haven't you done this? And I always tell everybody, well, I go everywhere I'm invited, and some places I'm not.
It's funny though, because you bring this up, and I think about this stuff all the time. And we've heard at Disneyana, not this year but last year, we heard Bob Gurr talk about how, Bob Gurr, Mr. created the monorail and Autopia and the Matterhorn. Because of the way culture kind of changed and corporate America, I guess, kind of changed. He couldn't do the stuff that he was good at. He couldn't design roller coasters and stuff anymore because he wasn't officially an engineer. So he'd have to get some engineer to sign off on it. The creative types, they don't, a lot of decisions with the company now seem to be, I'm not going to say they are because I don't know, I'm not in the company, but seem to be, they make these decisions at management levels that don't really understand some of what they're running as the Disney company. Like, they understand that it's a media enterprise, but Disney is a certain flavor of a media enterprise, and I think you have to kind of know that flavor and know, something I say all the time, and people listening are probably like, oh, here he goes again, is that, Disney works best when you have two people at the top. You have a financial person like Roy, like Frank Wells, that keeps the creative person, Walt or Eisner, like in check. And both of those things together have a place. And I think the thing with Disney is, I think it runs best when there's two people. And we keep trying to make it like every other business and put one person as the CEO at the top, and that's it. And really, you need two people running it. You need a creative person who has the big ideas, who wants to take all the risks. And then you've got to have the financial person that says, I'll let you take risks, but you're on a little bit of a leash. You can't just financially bankrupt the company. And let these creatives do it. And I think since Iger has come back, he's a single person. He's not partnered with anybody, but he has already made some of those changes where he's putting some creatives back in charge of things. And I think that's when Disney does the best, when the creative people can have that outlet and can not stay in their lane. And they might see something in a adjoining division or something like you did with products and stuff, and suggest things, and they're like, that's a great idea. Because if you stay in your bubble or in your silo, you kind of lose, you kind of do the same thing all the time, and you don't get those new ideas injected, where it's nice to kind of propagate that throughout the company. And that's what I always thought was so cool. We hear all these stories about Walt's days, about how Walt would be like, oh, you're an animator? Well, you're going to work on this theme park attraction. They're like, well, what do I know about a theme park attraction? Well, doesn't matter. You're going to learn. You're over there now. And it forced people to, and it pushed people to, do things they didn't think they were capable of. And sometimes you need that, because people that are good in a field they feel like they know what the limitations are, and the people that don't know what the limitations are, so they like try things that are crazy, and sometimes they work beyond all reason and doubt. But anyway, I hope that Disney, pendulum swings back to kind of do some of that. I know it's hard.
We're on a good path now. Again, Iger's bringing back a lot of people. There are a lot of levels of management and middle management. Back in the day, people want to talk about Walt's time and stuff. And I have a great map. It's in the Walt Disney Family Museum, but it used to be in the old orientation handbook that you would get back in the 40s. But it shows this kind of grand circle of how everything runs in the studio. And everything, when you look at it, all the chain of command, it ultimately runs to Walt. Like he's the decision maker and everything flows from him. That is one way that a company worked at the time. Society has changed. You have a lot of middle managers and people that are all in the way now, and people want to put their marks on things. I had one great vice president that I knew at the company, and he used to say to me when I would get so frustrated with certain things and the way certain levels of management, and he would say, everybody wants to be part of the magic.
Yeah.
And you have to realize even the people that are middle management, they still have an idea that they want to be part of the magic, even if they don't understand it. You're like, okay, so we're all supposed to be part of this team. But unfortunately, I have a lot of middle management today that has come in that sees it strictly as a commodity. And everything's commodified. And so it's only about business, cents and dollars, and nothing beyond that. And they don't understand really that's what we're creating. We're not creating, we are creating money. We're creating business and dollars. And there is a sense to that. But that's really not what the company's output is. The company's output is magic. And again, that can't be quantified. And really, accountants and people can't do that. Only creative people can do that. So that's where the divide starts coming. And this will always be a constant battle. It was a constant battle, listen, when Walt and Roy were there.
Yeah.
Being brothers, they didn't talk for years at one point, except by memo. They came back together, but there was that time period where it just became like, listen, we can't even communicate. So there's always that push and pull. It's when it leans one way more than another that it starts getting off balance.
Yeah. It's all about the balance. Well, to kind of round out your time with Disney, I would love to chat quickly about the documentaries. I think, again, we go from all these different areas, so I just think it's fascinating that you also worked and produced, right, some documentaries, especially one about your good friend Floyd, who I think you said something earlier, and it really kind of sat with me. I'm like, it is interesting because Floyd has been doing his thing for forever, but it wasn't really until recently that anybody kind of knew. And so it's just really curious, and it's really interesting how some of these people, whether it's Imagineers, animators, or all these different aspects of Disney that have been creating this magic and have been living and breathing this and doing all of these things behind the scenes for so long, how suddenly now people have
They're floating to the top.
Yeah, how suddenly we have names associated with things. It's interesting how that happens. I don't know if it's the internet or what it is that has made the change, but...
Well, I think in as much as the company's changed, also the things around the company have changed. You went from having what used to be the National Fantasy Fan Club, which was the largest Disney fan club around initially in the world, to that's now called Disneyana Fan Club. It's changed through the years. But they were around for quite a long time before D23, before D23 Expo. And so fans kind of gravitated towards that. And the company would look at that in many ways. And they would see what the fans did there. And they would take in, when they had their Disneyana Legends that they would give. That would be a big indicator of, okay, if the fans saw this person as somebody important, then maybe we should, that will go into our consideration for getting an actual Disney Legends Award and those kind of things. But in as much as time has changed, D23 Expo has happened. Now the D23 fan club exists. The National Fantasy Fan Club isn't as prominent anymore. So some of these other things have taken shape. With the Legends ceremony itself through the company becoming tied to the D23 Expo, now it's part of the show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gone back to the origination of it. At its roots, it was a movie promotion. So the first of the Disney Legends was Fred McMurray with Shaggy Dog. And it's like, okay, so it was almost thought of as like the Walk of, not the Walk of Fame, that handprints at Grand Chinese Theater here. So you got a new movie come out, people get their handprints. So that was a way to celebrate. And then it became, it kind of morphed into celebrating, well, let's celebrate our history and some of these legacy type people that we have. But still, the elemental of that ceremony was, as a movie, it's like, what can we promote? And with the D23 Expo and it tied to the show, it's become kind of more centered around that again, and less necessarily about looking back at the history and the legacy, but rather kind of what's new and now that we're promoting, and how can we tie this in?
This makes a lot more sense why certain people have become legends recently. Right? This makes a lot more sense now. I did not know that.
And so fans, fans have a way of seeing it, that the company, it's just separated from the way the company actually works and what it is to the company. And because the company has a hard time assimilating that there's people in the company that are fans and are super fans and understand that, but the company as a whole, it just has a hard time assimilating that type of information because it's not quantifiable.
Yeah.
Unless it's metrics. So for me, growing up as a fan of Disney and then moving as I did into Disney Learning and becoming education and knowing some of these people, a lot of the things I've gotten involved with wasn't from any kind of idea of trying to make money or anything popular. It was because something that I wanted to see. It was a selfish motivation. Listen, I want to have this on my shelf. I want to wear that. It's something, again, it goes back to the same thing as like with the video covers. It was something because I thought it was cool.
Yeah. But
this is me. Yeah, it's an interior kind of thing that my creativity was drawn out of. And so even to this day, so when I started getting into doing the documentaries or whatever, they were driven out. It was because people that I knew, things that I thought were cool that I think other people should know about as well. So like with the documentary we first did on Drew Struzan, who's the movie poster artist that did Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Harry Potter.
Iconic.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The most famous, Back to the Future. I mean, there's not a movie poster he didn't do,
Wow, yeah.
He's kind of like the guy who did the In a World, the trailer voice guy. Like everybody knows.
You know all his stuff. So if you saw it, you'd be like, oh, that's true. And so as a young guy growing up, I would always see his work. And I knew that guy's work immediately without knowing his name necessarily. And it always would say Drew, and I never knew if that was his name or like, is this the guy, like what kind of, and even when I first met Drew, I told him, I'm like, you were just given the most perfect name ever for this guy that draws all these things. So when I got to be about, I was about 19, I'd moved to Los Angeles. There was a book that had come out called Dreams for Sale. And it had some of Drew's work in there. It was an advertising agency had done a gallery showing of some movie poster advertising work. And so some of Drew's stuff had been there, and they put out a little catalog for that gallery showing. And I'd seen that book, and I was like so interested in getting one. I couldn't find it anywhere and stuff. And of course, it was before the internet. So I just looked up the ad agency, and I talked to Tony Seininger there at the ad agency. And I said, listen, I'm looking for a copy of this book. Do you know anybody that has it? Do you guys have any copies of it I could buy from you or whatever? And he said, I don't, but I know a guy who might. And he said, here, I think he was asking me who I liked in the book or whatever and stuff. And he gave me a telephone number, call this number and they might have a copy of the book. And I called the number and I started talking to this gentleman. And it turns out Tony Seininger had given me Drew Struzan's telephone number. And I was talking with Drew, and I was blown away. And then Drew was like, yeah, I might have a couple copies of it if you want to come on over and get it. And I was like, oh, so my roommate at the time, I was like, immediately, I said, we're going to see Drew Struzan. And we're like so freaking out. And we jumped in the car and we raced over there to his little studio in San Marino? No, not San Marino. up above San Marino. He had this little, I call always the dentist office because I remember walking up to it. It was in a little strip mall, and he had a open sign in the window, and it had teeth, like the teeth, like open mouth with teeth.
Yeah.
And I always say it reminded me of a dentist office. And so, and I went in there, and this little, just studio that he had set up was one room, kind of cinder block little office and stuff. And I met with him and my buddy, and he spent like an hour and a half with us, talking with us, showing us all his work. And I just was like in awe. And then he goes to bring the book out, and he says, okay, here's the book. And he signs it to us and everything, and signs each of it. And I go to pull out, that was checkbooks at the time. We all had checkbooks. And I go to pull out my checkbook, and I realized, because I had been so excited to come see him, and we had raced literally from Santa Clarita, where I was living at the time, all the way over there, that I completely forgot my checkbook.
Oh.
And I didn't have any money or anything on me. And I was just mortified, completely mortified. And I was like, oh, and he just looked at me and he said, okay, just take it and send it to me. And I was blown away by that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I got in the car, me and my buddy just, of course, ragging me to home. How could you forget? You're such an idiot, the whole way back home, 40 minutes back home. And I drove all the way home, and I was so mortified that I got right back in the car, grabbed the checkbook, and drove another 30, 40 minutes back to give him the check.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to the door, and I remember him. He was so surprised. Drew was so surprised that I came back. And I think it was because at that time he had so many issues with people burning him, just not being people of their word.
Sure.
And that he was surprised that it came, and he took it and stuff, and it just instantly bonded us as friends.
Yeah.
And so from then on, we just became friends, and I would check in on him whenever I could and whatever, so that when, I was the one that started his Wikipedia page initially. I was the one I helped push him to say, because he was so kind to me, and so just his heart was there. Like, that was the thing I was always impressed with, more than even his art, was just his heart.
Yeah.
Towards me and towards other people. And I thought other people need to know about this guy. Like, this is insane. And even before I'd ever met him, I would rip out, when I would see his work in a magazine or wherever, I would rip it out and save it. So I had like a folder full of this stuff over the years. And so I was always telling him, you should do an actual book. And he's like, well, do you think anybody would care? Oh. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, everybody's going to care about this. So I was pushing him, and finally he did his own book, but that was its own kind of headache for them. But they finally got it done. That was great. And then eventually there was some other guys that wanted, I guess they had gotten involved. They were going to do the documentary on Drew. Mm-hmm. And then I found out about it and heard about it. And then I said, I'll help you any way that you want on this. Let me know. And, and we were at Comic-Con, and I said they were down there interviewing people and talking with Drew and stuff and doing some shots for the movie. And I said, whatever you need, we'll make it happen. So then they eventually asked me to come on as they needed money too for finishing funds at that time. Like, they didn't know how we were going to finish it. So I was like, okay, cool. And I said, my only ask of them at that time was, I don't want Drew to know. So don't let him know that I'm involved at all. At the time, my thinking was, I didn't want Drew thinking that I was trying to be a hanger-on or, trying to whatever. I just wanted him just to do the film, and I wanted to support him wherever he could. And I just wanted to see it done. So we did the film. It came out, and that, helped Drew even more and helped his visibility, I guess, people to know him. And then similarly, so then my director on that, he was telling me after that point, and I knew already, I was like, what are you going to do next? And he was like, I don't really know. And he's kind of going back and forth. And I had already been, having lunches with Floyd, known Floyd forever, and knew that if there was an opportunity that if they met, we're doing a movie on Floyd. Like, I just knew that was going to happen. And Floyd had already mentioned there had been another guy that had tried to do a documentary on Floyd previously. Mm-hmm. But I guess there was a car accident that he'd had, and he passed from it. And so that was lost to time, and it never occurred. And so from that time period, it was already probably 6 years. I'd had lunches with Floyd at that point, 5-6 years. So I know all these stories and all this stuff, and I was like, there's nobody better he's going to get to do a movie on. So I introduced them. He had told me too, my director had said, his interest was, I kind of like to do movies about artists that aren't really well known and, that people could get to find out about, which aligned with kind of what I wanted and, was interested in. And so I said, you know what? So I introduced them. And then within 24 hours, he came back and he called me and he said, you know what? I think I know what I want to do. I said, I'm already in. Let's do it. You didn't have to finish the sentence because I just knew that was going to take place. And so then we made the introduction, and then I had to break it to Floyd over coffee. And I said, okay, so here's the deal, Floyd. We want to do a documentary on you, but you have to know if we do this, your life is going to change. I know you think you're a Disney legend now, and it's like, but it is going to change. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, kind of, he was game. But one of the things that we discussed at that point, and what even I told my director is, I know that Floyd will be game to do this. The harder sell is going to be his wife. And so, because her life is going to change as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. And Adrian is very protective of Floyd. And so that was kind of my involvement there, and then helping those guys kind of craft a narrative of figuring out what to put into the film and not put into the film. And then as well as, because this wasn't a Disney sanctioned project, mm-hmm. It was a little bit of guerrilla filmmaking at the time. It was these guys trying to do this film, and we did it. But again, it was my trying to let them do what they wanted to do and still be a voice in the process and steer it so that it wouldn't get Disney super uncomfortable, even though it would touch on some uncomfortable topics, maybe.
Sure.
So, like, we talk in there about Floyd when he was let go and, retirement type issues, ageism and things and stuff, and some things that, and even a little bit about race, and so these are topics that, for Disney as a corporation would want to be very careful with. But, I think that they handled it great, and we made this great film about Floyd, and it captures the essence of who he and Adrian are together, and his history and his career. And so I, for me, the benefit is seeing everybody else respond to that now.
Yeah.
I do tease him that now that he's a movie star, I don't really get a chance to hang out with him as much as I used to, because now he is getting pulled. Like I said, his life is going to change.
Yeah.
And he gets, not only recognized everywhere, and is probably one of the most recognizable Disney legends, I think, now out of all.
Yeah.
And I think well liked, that the fans respond to. We went in 2015. We got Ivan Earl his Legends Award, and I was there and sitting with them, and all the fans are at D23 and clapping as the different legends come up. And it was, I only had to laugh because when Floyd got up there, out of all of them, probably the loudest applause and cheers going up for Floyd and stuff. And in part, I think it's because he's a likable guy that can poke fun, can speak with knowledge to the history and legacy, and he doesn't take it seriously. At the end of the day, that's one of the things that I've always taken from him is that, and one of the things that I think a lot of management gets away from, they take it so seriously, and we have to realize that it's still, at the end of the day, just cartoons.
Yeah.
It's just cartoons. That's what the company does. We can make all the Marvel movies we want. We can make all the other things that we want. It's still cartoons. It's about being funny. It's about laughing.
Yeah.
Having a good time. And when we lose sight of that, we lose sight of a whole lot. But it'll always be a cartoon company. And so anyway, I was very grateful that we were able to do that for Floyd. I've been able to use my voice for other friends and people that I've gotten to know and mentors. Like I said, we were able to get, was able to work with the archives and finally get Ivan Earl his Legends Award in 2015.
Yeah.
And work
That's
with
awesome.
and stuff. We did the exhibit for Ivan up at the Family Museum.
That looked really cool. We didn't go. We didn't get to go, but from what I saw of just photos of that exhibit, it looked really, really cool.
It was
amazing,
and probably the most comprehensive retrospective of his career ever been done. So a lot of work and effort went into that. Though I had the least part of that, but there's a lot of other people that worked very hard to create and build that. But I was just glad to be a voice in that. And really, that only came about when it did, because I always tell the stories. Ron Miller was huge in getting that to happen when it did, because internally at the museum, they had some other exhibits and things that they had planned and were already online to coming up. And we went and said, I introduced the Ivanhoe estate to the museum and said, listen, we want to do this exhibit and all those kind of things. And Ron stepped in, and when everybody else was kind of noodling around about when it was going to go and what to do, Ron said, nope, it's going next, and cut through all of it. And only Ron or Diane really could make that happen at the Family Museum like it did. And so I was very grateful to see that, in part because I met Ivan before I ever even came to the company. And Ivan was another person that was very just gracious to me coming up. So again, a little bit of this was my selfishness of wanting to see somebody that had been, trying to pay back to these guys that had been gracious to me and helped me along my way, I guess. So we did that. We just recently, just this year, something I spent 10 years to make happen with the estate was we restored 2 of Ivan's shorts that haven't been seen in almost 50 years, something like that. And these are shorts that he did after he left the studio. One is called Death and Sunrise, and it's like a Western, and one is called Were You There? And it's the story of Easter, basically. It's the Easter story. And so that Ivan considered the Easter story his masterpiece. That was the last animated short he ever did. So we just finished restoring those with Asifa Hollywood, and so eventually we'll be showing those somewhere. We don't know where yet. The preservation, we started on that before COVID. I started on it back in 2009 when I met with the estate to say, let's I want to see this happen. But a long process. So
it's really important to, and I've seen, gosh, where did I see it recently? I don't know. I look at a lot of stuff, so I don't know where I see anything. But they were talking about the importance of saving film and saving some of these things, because a lot of things, especially older stuff, that was filmed on film, is in a canister somewhere in a vault or whatever, but some of that's starting to degrade over time. And so if people don't start to try to salvage that stuff now, like, it'll be gone forever. And I remember, I don't know, gosh, it's been decades probably at this point, when Universal had that fire and one of their film vaults burnt down, and so all of those things were gone.
That was the recording masters, and so it was more than films. It was recording. It was a lot of the recording history of the world was lost in in those fires.
Wow.
So that's the vaults that were touched in that. But yes, definitely with film preservation, there is that issue. The oldest of the films, which were done on nitrates, they get, over time, they turn flammable. So, like we talk about nitroglycerin and other kind of things. So these are nitrates, and they break down over time. And so they will become combustibly flammable, sometimes spontaneously combustibly flammable. So they will just burst into flame if they get old enough. And this is why when you talk about the old film vaults, like at the studio, Disney used to have the actual old film vaults, and they look like these giant doors with the, like almost like old, like in the kitchen, like these giant, kitchen kind of doors and stuff and everything. But they were actual vaults they would put them in, because if they caught fire, they're like, listen, it's contained. It's these block vaults, and they wouldn't burn down the rest of the studio. The newer films now aren't done on nitrate, but they still degrade. And they start doing what's called vinegaring after a time. The components start breaking apart. They start smelling like vinegar, and the colors start shifting to different colors and stuff. And so even on some of the old film rolls we had on these 2 shorts that we preserved, they were starting to vinegar and get old. And at a certain point, they just become, you just have to destroy them. They're not savable anymore. But like at the Academy, when they preserve films now, on some of the oldest films, like they will have their archivists and stuff. They actually go like number one, they do them outside when they take them all, all apart, and they will have buckets of water and sand and stuff right there, and they will submerge them as they pull them apart and stuff, because literally they can sometimes just spark up and burst into flame.
Wow.
It's a very, very interesting kind of procedure that they have to do. So luckily we got to Ivan's films before any of that happened, at least these two. There's other films that could be preserved and restored, the canisters and things. But we got to these two, and they're done, and they'll be saved, their 4K resolution. Now, even digital after time, so many years, technology changes, those kind of things. So we may have to make new transfers from this stuff at a certain point.
Nothing is forever.
Yeah.
Videotapes they're finding now, break down after 25, 30 years. So it depends on the format of it, and also the technology. Even if you do have some of that stuff, do you have the equipment to still play it on? Mm-hmm. So these are all questions for archivists and things to figure out how we go forward in preservation. So it's ones that the Academy deals with. It's ones that Disney archivists deal with. They're digitizing a lot of stuff right now, but right now everything's moving to streaming and cloud services. And so CDs and things in older formats aren't necessarily being used as much and are getting much harder to find to even retrieve that material off of.
Yeah.
So when I started, there were such things as called SideQuest discs. Nobody even knows what those are, SideQuest.
Right.
And those were like giant kind of tapes that were around the time as like floppies and stuff. But that was how you got lots of information, was these big side quests. Nobody uses them, and nobody knows where you're going to find the materials anymore and start to retrieve off of there. So technology changes over time, and it's a concern, and it's an issue. It'll continue to be an issue. So you just try to preserve that history as much as possible, and still have those connections.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's so important, and that's really incredible that, you're seeing these things and you're helping to make sure that these stories and these things are preserved, and that you can get it out there for other people. Because I think it's so cool. Like, that's something that we never realized we were gaining from this podcast, is all of the stories that we get to hear and share and let other people know about. Because there's just so much, so many layers and so much history that people just don't, you don't know because you don't know, kind of thing. Like you said with Floyd, like you were having all these lunches with him and you're just like, this is incredible. This needs to be a thing. And same thing with Drew. Like, people need to know about this guy. This is so cool. I think that's really important. So thank you for doing that, and for pushing for those.
With Floyd in particular, it's funny because, it first started, I got to ask any question I ever wanted. So, of course, they were the ones that most people ask, like, what was it like to work with Walt? And how was this? And how was that? And stuff. And over time, it became hearing other stories about his life and his things that aren't necessarily tied to Disney, but they are. They go to inform and educate about certain things in his life, like him going to Korea and him going and making documentary films in the riots, and making Black educational films, and all of these different things that make up a person's life that are kind of hard to sum up. So I got the benefit of all of those things, and then I got the benefit of just him being him, and Adrian being Adrian. So, like, for me, the first time I ever met Diane Disney, I was going up to the Family Museum, and Adrian knew that I was going up there. And Adrian and Floyd had a relationship with the Disneys, but I didn't. And Adrian sat me down. I think we were at D23, and she started telling me, like, okay, this is how you have to be around Diane. Like, giving me pointers, like, I'm just going to let you know, this is how she is, and this is how you have to be. And if you aren't like this, you're going to get short thrift, and it's not going to work. So it was getting the benefit of those kind of things, too. For me, it's been this surreal experience of being part, like I say, just as part of this Disney history, this for the last 30 years. Disney's been around 100 years, and I can say I've been 30, a third of that. And that is so weird to me. To think that. Just to touch upon Diane, tell a story here about her real quick. So when I first met her at the Family Museum, I was introduced to her, and she came up, and it was kind of a reception, and she came up and, oh, nice to meet you, and that kind of thing. And she moved on and started meeting with other people. And I thought, okay, well, that was my meeting with Diane. Very, very short and sweet. And, that was my experience, and great. I loved it. And then Ron Miller ended up coming by, her husband, and we started talking. And Ron was interested in talking more with me, I guess. I don't know if many people talked to him there, or that he was at that time. But he started talking with me for whatever reason. And, what do you do at the studio? I think it was because I worked at the studio, and so he was interested in that. And I said, I've been working on the schools in China. And then that caught his interest, because they had just seen that Sunday on 60 Minutes, a whole thing on China currently. So they were very interested in that. He was so interested in that. Diane happened to be passing by again, that he grabbed her and pulled her over again and said, oh, have you met Rick? And she said, oh, yeah, we've already met. And he said, oh, you have to meet him because he's working on the schools in China. And then I saw it in her eyes that caught her attention, and her focus went to me so much, so quickly and so fast that it kind of unnerved me. It scared me because she just went, and then she started asking me so many questions, just like, rapid fire, that I would start to answer her, and she'd be into another question. And I was, it was kind of surreal for me, because I was going out of my body at the same time, kind of in this scene, I'm talking to Walt Disney's daughter, Diane, here, and, at the same time trying to answer her. It wasn't until, and then finally Joanna, her daughter, Diane's daughter, so Walt's granddaughter, walked by, and then Diane said, have you met Rick? Like, you've got to meet him, like, here he is, kind of, and then Diane moved away, and Ron moved away, and so then it would start all over with Joanna, and it wasn't until later that I really realized about Diane. So when I describe her and my experiences with her, I always describe that moment in particular, is because I said, if you ever wanted to know Walt, you always hear the story about Walt, and it said that when he was interested in something, he would get laser focused on it. And it was in that moment I realized that is exactly what Walt would do, what she was doing to me in that moment. Mm-hmm. And it almost makes me emotional to think about it, because it just was like that. I never got a chance to meet Walt, but in that moment was like, that was the moment I thought. Again, that's very cool. Surreal, and I'm just very grateful for it.
Wow. That's incredible. Wow. I think that's I don't think we can top that story.
That's a good one.
That's amazing. Real quick, before we ask our final question, back to the documentaries. Where can people find those if they're interested in checking them out? Do you know? Because I don't think they're on Disney Plus. I think all the cool things should be, but they're not.
I wish they were on Disney Plus.
Right.
There are, I want to say, so I know for the month of May in the UK, they were on Sky TV.
Okay.
And it was free. At least the Drew's movie was. Mm-hmm. Floyd's movie, I think, is only available right now on Blu-ray. I don't know that it's being, and maybe if you go on Google, it'll tell you some of the other streaming platforms that might have it, but I'm not exactly sure, because I was never a profit participant in any of those movies. So I don't keep track of them in that way. There's other people that do. They came out and they did what they did, and it's like, thank God that they did. And
I need to track these down
in different ways as the profit participants. Like Kino Lorber is the distributor for Floyd's movie, and so they pop up in different ways. Sometimes they'll do a different screening for them somewhere, but I don't exactly know what platform they exist on right now at this moment. So
before this gets posted, I'll do some research and try to put a link for our listeners of where they can possibly find it.
Floyd and Drew will appreciate that. So.
Yeah. Well, Rick, it has been an amazing roller coaster ride of stories with you that, it's tough. It's like I said earlier, we do these interviews and we sometimes have no idea where they're going, and they end up in these totally different places than we expected them to. This is why people, a lot of times when we go to interview them, they ask us things like, well, are you going to send me a list of questions? And we say, we have our, ones that we ask everybody, but we always just kind of let the conversation go, because we never would have asked about most of this if we had come up with questions for you, because it's much better for our guests. And, you're a great example of, you tell your story better than we could through questions. So we kind of just ask a starting question and then kind of go. And so I think our listeners, this is going to be 2, maybe 3 episodes.
Well, I appreciate that.
So, so that's a lot of content.
He's definitely, I always say, it's hard to sum up my career.
Oh yeah,
that's why I think you guys were asking before him, how do you want us to refer to you? And I say I've been called many, many things over my career, and all of them kind of fit in a way. But it's like, So I was at the Disneyland Legends dinner recently, and one of the people that was sitting next to me, and he said, "So what is it that you do?" and I always hear that, and I always have to just go back to I draw. And that sums it up. It always goes back to the foundational skill of what I do.
But you've done so much more than that.
And everything's flowed out of that, So all of the documentaries, all those things, it started out because I draw and I like to draw. And the people that I did that or had some connection to that. And so it's just I draw. Because otherwise, I'll be sitting for 3 hours with every single person,
right?
Going down and
just point the 2 or 3 episodes we're going to do. They can skip. There's chapter markers. They can skip right to the point where you're talking and get the whole backstory.
And I'm just thinking of this too. What if you would have never drawn that Mickey Mouse in that birthday card? What would your life have looked like? Like, that's the other thing too. Is that one little moment in time? How that was
Disney. It probably would have looked a lot different. I mean, I was already, like I say, doing stuff around Hollywood and bouncing around, but I don't know if that would have been just a flash in the pan at Disney, just doing shipping stuff or what. But so it's been a long, strange trip, as they say.
All right, I'm going to put you in a box for this next question. So, if you could work at Disneyland, because
you've done everything
I could say Disney, but I feel like I want to put you at Disneyland. If you could work at Disneyland, what would you do? Sky's the limit. It could be a real job. It can even be something you make up. What would you like to do if you worked for Disneyland?
Besides test churros all day?
You can be an official churro tester.
That's a made-up job. There you go.
Tester works well, but if I was to be more kind of specific, I guess it's probably along the same lines as things I've done already in the company or even with the park. It's just look for opportunities to plus stuff, and that's always been part of the biggest fun of me going to the park is I look around and I see opportunities, and then I try and pass those along. And like I say, sometimes they ruffle feathers and sometimes they don't. But I consistently see that, and I feel like that goes back to the heart of what Walt did. I mean, and that's what he wanted to do. It was find ways to create added magic. So whether that's through a product, whether that's through, just an experience, whether that's through an opportunity, an experience, whatever, it's just, it's find those places that you can go and create magic.
Well,
Very cool.
Rick, we so appreciate the amount of time you've given us tonight. And also, if our listeners want to follow your work or connect with you or see what you're up to, is there anywhere online that people can go to that to find you?
Yeah, like you were saying, I'm all over the place. So if you Google my name, typically that shows you everything or, will lead you to everything. But on Twitter and Instagram specifically, I started out many years ago. I went under my username was Observant View, and I've kept that. And I think that plays in kind of when you ask me about what kind of job I want to do.
Yeah.
So I just go around and I see things and I go, okay, well, so Observant View is where you can find me. I'm on Facebook as well. I now have a YouTube channel where I've been putting up. So since COVID had started, people came back to me because I didn't draw for many years. I was just overseeing other artists. And then COVID happened and a few people came to me and started asking me to do commissions again.
Oh.
And so I started doing commissions and doing art again over that. And so I started actually videotaping the process of some of those. And I've now put them up on YouTube, these art videos that I've done, so you can see from beginning to end kind of the process of me creating some of these pieces, including the piece that I did for D23 this year, the Disneyland Castle piece. So you can just find all sorts of stuff up there. But I'm all, on social media. I'm all over the place.
Cool. We'll link all that stuff in our show notes so our listeners can find it easy. And
Thank you,
yeah.
Very cool.
It's been so much fun being with you guys.
This was a wild ride. We're going to take it back to your
Toad.
your paid day that you spent with Mr. Toad.
Hang on. It's the wildest
It's been a wild ride. That's incredible. Seriously, thank you though, Rick. This has been
Yes.
way more than we were expecting. So you have an incredible history and continued history since you're still going with Disney. That's just...
Well, I try to. Until they throw me out, right? So
there you go. Like, I'm just going to keep coming in. I'm just going to keep sending those
it's all I know how to
emails.
do at this point. So I'm like, okay, people are like, what else are you doing? I don't know. So this is it.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep going.
I feel like it's kind of like if you see the movie Officer and a Gentleman, and there's that point in this, there's a scene where the Marine Corps sergeant is talking to the guy about, or the drill sergeant is talking to the guy, and the other guy starts crying. He's like, I don't know where else to go. Like, like that. So anyways, thank you guys so much.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@DLWeekly.net.
Well, hello and welcome back to Trivia Land. Are you two excited to be back here now?
I feel like it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
See,
Yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised as well.
See, you set the low bar, and then the two of you can walk out feeling good about these things. It's just always a good choice. But we'll see if your numbers add up. Our first question from Chrissy A was, how many levels are at the Mickey and Friends parking structure? And can you tell me the names of each floor? You two guessed 7, but you gave me one character too many. There are only 6. If you had to guess,
Daisy doesn't get one.
of the
Daisy
7 you
has
gave
one.
me, who doesn't have a floor?
Pluto?
Bonus
Pluto.
trivia.
Pluto doesn't have a floor.
Pluto doesn't have his own floor. That's
Because
correct.
the reason I said Daisy was because I remember walking by, because all the characters are on the pillars.
Yep.
And there's different colors. And Daisy's is pink, I think.
Sure.
What is Minnie then if Daisy's pink?
Red.
Then what's Mickey?
Ooh, yellow.
I don't know. Do you have the colors too, James?
I don't have the colors.
Well, looks like I'm Googling.
So in order from bottom to top, level 1 is Chip and Dale, level 2 is Daisy, level 3 is Mickey, level 4 is Goofy, level 5 is Donald, level 6 is Minnie.
Okay, so things are weird here. because
Your memory's goofy.
because Chip and Dale are green, which I thought they were brown. See, I don't think that this is quite right. Hold on a second. Because in this here we go. That's
No,
Pixar.
that's Pixar.
So here's Mickey. Mickey's red. Donald is blue. Nope, that's also... Why do you do this to me, Disney?
It's not Disney, it's Google.
Goofy is green. Mickey is red. That's not even the right thing.
Minnie's pink.
Donald is blue. Chip and Dale's green, I guess. I thought Chip and Dale was brown. And Daisy looks like she's also blue. So I guess if you're a duck, you're on the blue level.
Looks like Daisy's might be more of like a purple blue,
Oh.
and then red, and then a greenish yellow, then blue, and then pink.
Gotcha. Yeah, because even like the tiles and stuff are the right color.
Neat.
Oh, yeah. Daisy is purple. Like a purple.
There you go, Daisy's.
Like her dress.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I am a parking structure aficionado over here, which I feel like nobody understands, especially you don't understand.
No.
And just for completeness, the Pixar Pals parking structure has Coco, which is level 2, which is like a purple. Level 3 is Cars. Level 4 is Monsters. Level 3 is Cars with red. Level 4 is Monsters, Inc. with green. Level 5 is Finding Nemo with blue. And level 6 is Inside Out with pink.
And not to forget level 1, which is The Incredibles, which is kind of like a dark gray or a black.
Sure. Yep.
Well, we'll just have to see how long you two remember that one for future episodes.
Yeah.
No promises.
Oopsies. Why did I have to do this to myself?
Good job, Ted.
Good job,
Just
Teg.
built up hope. All right, let's move on. Our second question. According to the sign outside of Big Thunder Mountain, what is the population of Rainbow Ridge? Kevin M. asked. And I was going to give you some leeway, but apparently I don't have to because the answer is 38.
Dang, good job, Tay.
Wow. That just, like I said, it just came to me, and I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
Sometimes that instinct is just right on, isn't
I'm
it?
doing well tonight. Too bad I've got this trip to Florida that's going to screw me all up. When I come back, I'm not going to be good at trivia at all. Because I'm finally in a
Hold
groove.
on.
Like, keep
Trip
it going.
to Florida.
Florida.
Europe.
What are you
Trip
talking
to
about?
Europe.
Like, that was my confused face.
I
I'm
guess
like, when are you going to Florida?
I guess I'm leaving you in Florida.
Oh, my goodness. We're not even going anywhere near Florida.
Seriously.
Apparently
Sidell, you
you
can just
are.
cut that all out. Just
I think you should leave that in.
Just leave it in. Sidell, I'll leave it up to you what you want to do to put that in, leave it out, whatever.
Oh,
Go to
Lord.
Florida.
You just like to make me look stupid on the podcast, don't you?
I didn't have to do anything. You did all that
Yeah,
yourself.
but I'm talking about cutting it out. You're like, you should leave it in. So you just want me to look
I'm
stupid.
just
Anyway,
kidding.
I know.
All right, let's move on. Our
We're at
third
least having fun this Trivia Land.
I told you, Trivia Land's always a fun place.
Oh, I beg to differ.
Well, let's hope Whitney N's third question will get us there. On how many attractions are you swallowed by a whale at Disneyland? I gave you Pinocchio through your discussion, and you gave me the other two.
Good
You
job,
are right,
Teresa.
3 attractions. I really thought Finding Nemo might stump you since
That's-
we don't really ever ride that one.
That is true.
It's a very subtle thing, too. Very subtle.
And the last one from Ace. The registers of the concession stand inside Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway are a nod to something. What? The 2 registers read $11.18 and $19.28, also known as the debut of Steamboat Willie.
Not Mickey's birthday.
Not
It's
quite.
celebrated as Mickey's birthday, though.
Is that the same date that we wrote down, though? Mickey's birthday now.
Our official answer is Mickey's birth date.
Dang.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different dates for Mickey's birthday, but it seems like October and September tend to run for him more. But I could be wrong, so I'm giving you half points for being close enough.
Thank you.
Giving me November of 1928 was actually rather impressive. I'm going to give you 2 that one. So
Thank you.
not a bad week in Trivia Land. You have some good listeners to thank for giving you some numbers questions. Tell ya, next week I don't think Vern's going to be quite as nice though.
I'm not here to mess with it, so good luck, Teresa and Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But you know what? Lynn has quite the library, so you might
true.
find that he's really good with Disney trivia.
Very true.
yeah, so if you want to help producer Vern out while I'm on vacation, or help me out when I get back, we love your trivia questions. You just send us an email. It's trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Well, at least Teresa will be. Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.